How do you forgive someone who destroyed your future and still expects a thank you? That's what my mother did to me. She used my name, her own child's name, to open credit cards, maxed them out, defaulted, then let them rot under my identity while I was still in college. I didn't find out until I applied for my first apartment and got rejected. They said my credit score was in the 400s, that I owed over 30,000 for accounts I never even knew existed. At first, I thought it was a fraud. Some stranger, some hacker, but no. It was her, my own mother, and when I confronted her, shaking, terrified, confused, do you know what she said? She laughed. You should be grateful. At least now you have a credit history. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't desperation. It was entitlement, the kind that hides behind the word family and feeds off silence. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I stood there, drowning in a kind of betrayal you can't even name. And that's when I realized some parents don't ruin your life by accident. They do it because they think you won't fight back. But they were wrong. From the outside, my mother was the picture of a perfect parent. Other kids envied me. Your mom is so involved. She never misses anything. She must really love you. And I believed that, for years, because she was always there, at school events in the front row with her phone, clapping the loudest. She brought cupcakes to class on my birthday. She posted collages of my achievements on Facebook with hashtags like Shah's Proud Mom and My Everything. She played the role so well even I couldn't see the script. But behind closed doors, her love had strings. It didn't feel warm, it felt transactional. She didn't help with homework because she wanted to. She helped so she could later say, "You wouldn't have gotten that grade without me." She didn't take me shopping to bond. She did it so she could pick what I wore and call it taste training. She didn't just give, she kept score. And the older I got, the tighter the strings became. When I wanted to apply to an out-of-state college, she said, "That's a waste of money. You'll thank me one day for keeping you close." When I tried to open a small savings account after my first job, she insisted, "Let me handle that. I'll teach you how to be smart with money." I thought it was care. I mistook her control for protection, because that's what she always told me. I'm the only one who's ever truly on your side. So I gave her access to my paperwork, my student accounts, even my social security number, because she helped me apply for FAFSA and said it was too complicated for me to do alone. And once she had that information, she didn't give it back. I didn't know it then, but I was already losing pieces of myself. Not just my privacy, but my autonomy, my voice, my space to say no, because in my family, no was disrespectful, and no one disrespects mom. Looking back, there were signs. Like the time she signed my name on a school permission slip before asking me, or the time she intercepted a scholarship letter and forgot to mention it until after the deadline. But I brushed it all off. She's just intense, I thought. She means well. She's just trying to help. Even when she made decisions about my schedule without asking. Even when she told my cousins I was bad with money because I didn't want her managing my bank account anymore. Even when she cried in front of the whole family because I bought a used car without consulting her first. I stayed quiet, because in our house, silence kept the peace. Speaking up only brought guilt, tears, and days of passive-aggressive punishment. So I did what so many children of controlling parents do. I made myself smaller, easier, more agreeable, until one day I woke up and realized I didn't know where my boundaries had gone. They weren't crossed, they were never allowed to exist. I always thought the worst thing my mom could do was embarrass me in public. But I was wrong. The worst thing she ever did. I had a smile on my face while stealing my future behind my back. Because love without respect isn't love. And trust, once shattered like glass, doesn't cut clean. It cuts everywhere. And it cuts deep. The day I found out, it didn't feel real. I had just applied for my first apartment. Nothing fancy, just a small studio close to work. I was excited, nervous even. I had printed my pay stubs, saved for the deposit, and felt like I was finally moving forward on my own terms. So when the leasing agent emailed me saying I didn't qualify due to my credit, I thought it was a glitch. "Your credit score is below 500, she wrote. "Multiple delinquent accounts." over $30,000 in unpaid balances. 30,000? I froze. I'd never even had a credit card. I didn't own anything but a debit account and a $200 savings balance. There had to be a mistake. I ordered my credit report that night, certain it would clear things up. It didn't. Page after page, it read like a financial horror story. Bank cards I'd never applied for, loans I didn't recognize, missed payments, charge-offs, collections, and all of it, in my name. At first I panicked. Maybe it was identity theft. Maybe someone hacked my info, but the more I looked, the more familiar it felt. The mailing address on the first account, my childhood home, the phone number, hers, the email contact, the same one she used for online shopping, and then I knew, not just suspected, knew. My mother did this. I waited a day, maybe two. I wanted to be sure. I needed time to calm the shaking in my hands, to breathe through the nausea, to wrap my head around the fact that the woman who tucked me in at night had used my name to destroy my future. When I confronted her, she didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She sipped her coffee and said, "I was going to tell you eventually. Don't be so dramatic." Dramatic? I showed her the report, pointed at the balances, the late fees, the damage. She waved it off. "You weren't using your credit. I thought it would help you build a history." I stared at her. "You didn't build me a credit history. You buried me in debt." That's when her tone changed, from dismissive to condescending. "You're overreacting. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You always make things bigger than they are." Bigger than they are? My entire financial future, trashed before I even got a chance to build it. And she was acting like I was the problem. "You should be grateful," she added. "Most kids your age don't have any credit history at all. At least now you have something." That word again. Grateful. She said it with a smile, like she expected me to thank her, like the $30,000 in debt, the tanked credit score, the emotional whiplash, was some kind of gift. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her how she could do this to me, but I already knew the answer, because she never saw me as a separate person. To her, I was just an extension of herself, a resource, a convenience, a name she could use because she raised it. When I didn't respond right away, she grew defensive. "You think I did this to hurt you? After all I've done? I kept this family afloat. You don't know what it's like to be under that kind of pressure." There it was. The guilt, the self-victimization, the shift in spotlight. She wasn't the thief, she was the martyr, and I was the ungrateful child who didn't understand. She looked at me with narrowed eyes and said, "Don't go around telling people lies. You'll embarrass this family." That line, that one line made everything clear. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry I found out. And suddenly the room felt different, smaller, tighter, like I was shrinking in it. That night, I lay awake with the credit report next to me, not crying, not panicking, just thinking. About every time she'd told me I couldn't make it on my own, about every time she helped with something and then held it over my head, about how easy it had been for her to turn my trust into leverage. She didn't just hurt me financially, she stole something deeper, my sense of safety, my right to say no, my ability to trust my own judgment. But she didn't know yet. Buried under that debt, something else had been built, something stronger, something she couldn't touch. I thought the worst part was over after confronting her, that maybe, just maybe, she'd reflect, regret, apologize. But I was wrong. Instead of taking responsibility, she started rewriting the story. Not just for herself, but for everyone around us. Within 2 days, my phone lit up with texts from relatives I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, your mom told me you two had a little misunderstanding. She said you're going through a phase. I heard you accused her of stealing. That can't be true, right?" That can't be true. 3 words that hit harder than any debt collector ever could. Because my mom didn't just hide the truth. She replaced it, spun a tale where she was the helpless mother, doing her best, and I was the selfish daughter, twisting things for attention. I became the villain in a story I never agreed to be in. She told people I was overwhelmed with life, that I was struggling financially and emotionally, that I'd misunderstood a few bank documents and was now lashing out. Worse, some believed her. Some even called to scold me. You should be more respectful. She's your mother. Don't air family business in public. She raised you. You owe her more than this. I wanted to scream, not just from the betrayal, but from the silence that followed when I tried to explain. No one wanted the truth. They wanted the version of me that stayed quiet. That didn't make waves. And in that silence, I started to question myself. What if I was being too harsh? What if she really did mean well? What if I was making things worse by pushing back? It's terrifying how easily a lifetime of gaslighting can make you doubt even your own pain. I started pulling away, stopped responding to texts, stopped going to family dinners, stopped trying to explain something no one wanted to hear. I felt like a ghost in my own life. But then, something changed. A few weeks later, I got another email from a bank I'd never heard of. New inquiry, new credit application, in my name. She hadn't stopped. After everything, the confrontation, the tears, the yelling, she was still doing it. Still using my identity like it belonged to her. That was the final crack. Because in that moment, the shame faded, the guilt dissolved, and all that was left was clarity. She hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a choice. Again, and again, and again. And now it was time for me to choose. I didn't confront her again. This time I called the credit bureaus, froze everything. Then I contacted the FTC, filed an identity theft report, started documenting every account, every late fee, every address she ever used under my name. She'd made me feel powerless for so long, but this time, I wasn't asking for accountability. I was taking it. I didn't cry this time. When the email came in, yet another credit inquiry under my name, I didn't panic. I didn't shake. I didn't freeze. I just stared at the screen. And something inside me finally, completely snapped into place. She hadn't just crossed a line. She was dancing on the ashes of every boundary I ever tried to set. And I realized if I kept waiting for her to stop, she never would. So it was my turn to make the move. The next morning, I called all 3 major credit bureaus. I froze my credit, flagged my account for fraud, and requested detailed activity logs for the last 2 years. Then I filed an official identity theft report with the Federal Trade Commission. It felt surreal typing my mother's name into that form. But I did it anyway, slowly, carefully, truthfully, because facts don't flinch, even when your hands are shaking. Next, I went through every credit card, bank loan, and account I didn't recognize. I called each company. One by one, I explained the situation, sent copies of the FTC report, my ID, proof of residence, and police reports. Yes, I filed one of those too, a police report against my own mother. That part hurt. There's something about saying it out loud to a stranger, an officer behind a desk, that makes it real in a way even debt collectors never could. But I kept going. Because this time, I wasn't doing it out of fear. I was doing it out of self-respect. The damage was deep, but not irreversible. Some companies cleared the charges immediately. Others needed time. A few pushed back, but I pushed harder. For once, I wasn't backing down. No more, let it go. No more, maybe she didn't mean to. Intent doesn't erase impact. And love doesn't come with an interest rate. While she was spinning narratives about how I was breaking the family apart, I was rebuilding the parts of myself she spent years dismantling. And the irony, she had no idea, because I didn't confront her again, didn't send a dramatic message, didn't try to explain myself. She didn't deserve front row seats to my recovery. I kept my moves quiet, deliberate, unapologetic. She might have thought I went silent out of guilt, but really, I was just focused on healing, on cleaning up the mess, on reclaiming my name. When the letters started arriving, debt forgiveness confirmations, fraud reversal approvals, even a small bump in my credit score, I didn't feel victorious. I felt steady, like I had finally stopped playing defense in a game I never agreed to join. My phone still buzzes sometimes. Why are you acting like this? You're hurting me more than you realize. I'm your mother. But I didn't respond, not because I didn't have words, but because I didn't owe her any more of mine. In the following weeks, I opened a new checking account at a bank she didn't know existed, got a P.O. box, changed my emergency contact, updated my passwords, reset every security question she helped me pick when I was too young to remember. I built a life she had no keys to. And for the first time in forever, I felt safe. Not because she changed, but because I stopped giving her the tools to hurt me. Some people think revenge has to be loud, public, explosive, but sometimes the real revenge is reclaiming what was always yours and watching them realize they no longer have access to it. She taught me a lot, not in the ways she intended, but still. She taught me how people hide cruelty behind good intentions, how control often wears the costume of love, and how healing doesn't always come with closure. It comes with distance. The silence after I cut contact was almost eerie. No more texts, no voicemails, no guilt-laced paragraphs trying to make me feel like I'd burned the world down. It was quiet, and at first, that silence was deafening. I kept expecting the next call to be from a cousin or a distant aunt, trying to mediate the situation. I expected the rumors to roll in faster than I could defend myself. But what happened was slower, more subtle, more painful in a quiet way. A few relatives reached out, not to understand, but to warn. You should fix this before it becomes permanent. She's your mother. You'll regret this one day. Family is family, no matter what. I didn't argue. There's no point debating with people who only see the surface. But then, a few others reached out too, softly, carefully. One cousin called late at night, voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted to say anything, but she did something similar to me once. Not as bad. But, yeah, I believe you. It was the first time someone actually said that out loud. I believe you, and those 3 words, they were more healing than any apology she could have ever given me. Over the next few weeks, the illusion began to crack. Some relatives who had always sung her praises started asking quiet questions. They noticed the inconsistencies, the evasions, the convenient retellings. One by one, pieces of the mask began to slip. No one confronted her directly, not at first, but the tone shifted. The blind defense faded into uncomfortable silence. The "you should forgive her" comments became less frequent. And that strangely hurt, too, because I realized just how long some of them had seen things and said nothing. I won the legal battle. I reversed the fraud, cleaned my name, rebuilt my credit. But no one throws a parade when you walk away from your family. There are no congratulations when you choose sanity over tradition. Instead, there's space, a lot of it. Empty chairs at holidays, quiet birthdays, gaps in group chats you no longer belong in. And yes, some nights that loneliness creeps in. Because even a toxic connection can feel like something, and cutting it can leave behind echoes. But here's what I've learned. Peace is not the absence of noise. It's the absence of permission. The permission she once had to use my name, my silence, my love as currency, that's gone. I didn't win some grand revenge. There were no dramatic courtroom scenes, no confessions, no closure, just distance. And in that space, something softer bloomed. Autonomy, clarity, a kind of self-respect I didn't even know I was missing. I still get questions sometimes. Do you talk to her? Do you miss her? Would you ever reconcile? And my answer is always the same. I miss the mother I thought she was, but not the one she chose to be. They always said forgiveness is freeing, but no one ever tells you that distance can be even more powerful. I didn't need a final fight. I didn't need an apology soaked in manipulation. I didn't need her to see what she did. I just needed out. And once I stepped away, fully, permanently, I finally understood. You don't need a villain to collapse in order to heal. You just need to stop letting them write your story. My story didn't end with justice. It didn't end with revenge. It ended with silence. And that silence? It was the most peaceful sound I'd ever known. Now it's your turn. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who believed hurting you was their right? Or worse, have you ever been made to feel guilty for finally standing up for yourself? Share your story below. Your voice might be the one someone else is waiting to hear.